full well that our number 1 and 2 pick was Davante Adams, I'm great with that.
It's a good way to look at it. What did the Raiders end up doing? Did they get anybody you liked after that? They first and second round picks for Davante? Did the Raiders do anything after that in the draft?
Yeah, they actually got a pretty high-ranked lineman in the third round, Dylan Parham, and they picked up some defensive linemen, another offensive lineman later, but they also picked up a third-round running back, Zaire White, I think his name is, out of Georgia. And this guy was projected to go higher than the third round from what I saw, and they got him in the fourth round.
So you're going to have Brandon Jacob, or not Brandon, what's the Jacobs kid that they got from Alabama? Josh Jacobs from Alabama. Didn't they have another guy that was supposed to be that they got signed a free agent? I can't remember who that was. Then there was another one.
Yeah, that was.
They had like Kenyon Drake. That's the one I'm thinking of. There was another one though that was kind of stealing carries from Jacobs last year. I can't remember who that was though.
He's Jalen Richard. He's not there anymore.
Okay, gotcha. So like, what are you going to do with all these running backs? You know, you got to get your throws to Davante Adams. You've got to get the ball to Darren Waller. Now you got 3 running backs you got to feed. What are you going to do with that football, Rodney? Goodness gracious.
Hey, if they would let me be the head coach of the Raiders, that'd be my dream job. And then I would figure it out. That's why they have training camp. They also have Brandon Bolden they picked up from the Patriots, who Josh McDaniels is familiar with. They picked up Amir Abdullah, but they'll weed out a few. But they didn't pick up the 5th-year option on Jacobs. So Jacobs is playing either for a free agent contract with the Raiders or someone else. So that's why I think they drafted White out of Georgia too. But hey, I'm a Raider fan. We're never used to having this much talent.
Yeah, that's true. So not in a long time, at least. So, but Rodney, let's dive into the political arena, and let's start with, of course, I want to say it was over the weekend. The opinion of the Supreme Court on the Roe v. Wade possibly being overturned was leaked to Politico, and that was released, surprisingly, I'm sure, to the courts. Talk a little bit about what your reaction, not just to the ruling, but to the just that document being leaked in general. What did you think of that whole thing?
Well, first off, everybody that knows me knows I'm pro-life, and I actually agree with the opinion. I certainly hope that becomes the final opinion, because that is something that we pro-lifers have fought for years. But what happened to get that draft opinion out to the public, in my opinion, is nothing short of really tearing down the institution of the Supreme Court. And I don't know who it is. I'm not going to speculate other than to say I think it's a clerk who works for a liberal justice who is very engaged in the abortion debate in his or her legal career leading up to this. And to release this out to the public, a draft opinion, is unprecedented. And it's something that really tears at the fabric of our institutions. But it's really commonplace in today's day and age, where social media and the fighting on the 24-hour news cycle, all it's ever created is this look at me atmosphere. And I think this person really believes he or she's going to be rewarded financially later with book deals, with speaking engagements, because they were so, quote, brave. There's nothing brave about doing something that has not been done in the Supreme Court by leaking a draft opinion. That cuts at the heart of how they deliberate very important cases.
Should that individual be prosecuted and sought after?
You will have to see, number one, is it a crime? Is that draft opinion classified material? Is it something that could be prosecutable? And if so, yes, that person should be prosecuted. If not, at a bare minimum, he or she should lose their job and lose their law license.
Rodney, when it comes to just the reaction to this, I've seen where the Supreme Court building now has fences and barricades around it, much like a lot of the other buildings in Washington, D.C. in the last couple of years with the reaction to this. What do you make of the reaction to all this?
I don't know anybody who's surprised that something like this being done leads to putting Supreme Court justices, their families, and anyone who works in the Supreme Court in danger. Look, Seth, I've experienced it. Remember, I went to Congress saying I wanted to fix Obamacare. I wanted to fix our broken healthcare system. I cast a vote to do that, and some nut job thought it was his duty to come take out his grievances against us for doing so on a baseball field by shooting at us and trying to kill us. This is the end result of actions like this that lead to violence, because people get so engaged and worked up over the political process and forget that we settle our differences not with violence in this country. We settle our differences at the ballot box.
Rodney, when it comes to the pro-life debate, of course, it's going to become basically a state's decision on how they handle those issues. How do you feel Illinois has handled the abortion pro-life issues?
Well, I think they've handled it terribly, and that's the point I make to everyone here in Illinois. If this draft opinion becomes the official opinion of the Supreme Court, you know what changes in Illinois? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We have legislators and governors who have allowed the public funding of abortions through our Medicaid program. They've allowed the expansion of abortion. Our state legislators have turned Illinois into a mecca of abortion on demand. So our fight, once this opinion becomes final, if it does, is to then elect Republican governors, elect Republican legislators who are pro-life like me. And our fight is to make sure that abortions in the state of Illinois are very, 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 very rare.
As it relates to, again, our guest on the phone this morning is U.S. Congressman Rodney Davis. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Rodney, when it comes to the impacts of this, will this be a rallying cry for Democrats leading up to the election, you think? Like, how do you, we'll talk about the primaries and such here in a bit, but how much of an issue do you think this will be when it comes to elections this summer and next fall?
Well, to be honest with you, Seth, I don't think anybody on any side needed a rallying cry to vote. I think Democrats and Republicans were equally energized. But every person who makes abortion their number one issue, trust me, is not voting for a Republican to begin with. So I don't know how this moves the needle with independents. Independents, remember, they don't live, eat, and breathe politics like all of us do, because that's what I do. I'm in government. It's all about politics. That's all you hear every day. But most people get up in the morning. They want to get their kids to school. They want to make sure they get their kids to their after-school activities, get home, and be able to afford to live. And what they're seeing and experiencing right now is a border crisis that's leading to drugs being brought into our communities that the Biden administration is doing nothing about. They're seeing an increase in violent crime, even in more suburban and rural communities. But what they're seeing in the grocery store is inflation. They're seeing that cart that used to cost $100 to go buy food for their family now costs $200. And they're wondering, how are they going to feed their family for the entire month? How are they going to pay for the extracurricular activities? That, my friend, is what is going to determine how somebody votes, in my opinion. I think they're going to vote for Republicans because Democrats have been terrible on these issues.
For sure. So when it comes to Congressman, again, just back to the abortion issue, the leaking of that opinion by the Supreme Court, do you think that it will sway any opinions of those on the court?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think the draft opinion was pretty clear. Justice Roberts made sure that he said that this was an official draft opinion. And I think that sets out where we thought the court would be. And again, those who make abortion their number one political issue, unfortunately, they're in luck here in Illinois because the Democrats have done so little to protect the lives of the unborn.
Congressman, let's take a break here. Come back with some more. U.S. Congressman Rodney Davis is my guest on the phone. More to come with him on the WHOW Morning Show.
Your own home without the maintenance. If you're 55 or better, a beautiful Liberty Village villa could be yours. This is Erin, and I invite you to come take a tour of our move-in ready villa. Click the Liberty Village icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Simply the finest.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Joe Biden's weakness has emboldened our enemies. Now Vladimir Putin, Communist China, and Iran's mullahs are threatening our security. Where does Mary Miller stand? Mary Miller voted with AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Ilhan Omar to defund our military. That's right. Last year on December 7th, Mary Miller voted with the Socialist Squad to cut off funding for our heroes in uniform at a time when America's adversaries are on the march. Mary Miller can't be trusted. Fortunately, there are conservatives like Rodney Davis in Congress who support our military. Rodney Davis voted to increase the defense budget and give our troops a pay raise.
I'm Rodney Davis. I will always have the backs of our brave men and women in uniform. That's why I voted to strengthen our military, to keep America safe. I believe in peace through strength. I'm Rodney Davis. I'm running for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Rodney for Congress.
The WHOW Morning Show is now video streamed live on the WHOW WEZC DeWittDailyNews.com Facebook page and on the new WHOW TV YouTube channel. Watch Morning Show host Seth Lawrence interview guests live, as well as watch archived video podcasts of any interview you missed. Whether on Facebook or YouTube, we're providing 2 more ways that Central Illinois' local news station, WHOW, delivers compelling content for you.
You're listening to The Morning Show, streamed by clicking the WHOW live icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone, Congressman Rodney Davis, as the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Congressman, let's dive into the Farm Bill a little bit. First of all, what is the status of the Farm Bill? Is there work happening on it? When does the current Farm Bill expire? What are some of those details?
Well, first off, I want to give a shout out to my insurance agent, Dustin Peterson, who's sponsoring your show. I've heard that twice from you. Dustin does great work. But the Farm Bill is a very, very important issue. And I've been glad to help write the last 2 Farm Bills. I've taken the advice from local farmers. I mean, you can talk to Terry Ferguson right there in DeWitt County, and he knows that we sit down with our Ag Advisory Board and we ask them to help us craft this bill. I'm not a farmer, but I want to know what I do and how it's going to impact you and your operations. We're going into this 3rd Farm Bill since I've been in Congress, and the choice is pretty clear. If the Democrats keep control of the House, then the discussion point for the Farm Bill is going to be nothing but climate change, nothing but environmental issues, rather than worrying about the high input costs that our farmers are facing right now, rather than worrying about what risk management programs are going to stay in place and how do they help mitigate some of this risk with the commodity prices versus the input prices. So we have not had nearly enough hearings debating the impact of the last Farm Bill in our House Ag Committee. And that's because the Democratic chairman has decided to have hearings on climate change, have hearings on environmental issues, rather than focusing on what matters to our farmers and our farm families.
If they don't focus on those issues and they're not addressed in the upcoming Farm Bill, what does that mean for farmers?
Well, they'll be addressed, but I think they'll be addressed in a much more adverse way than what they were addressed when we Republicans were in the majority and helped write the bill. If Republicans take over the majority again, which I think history's on our side, then you'll see minor tweaks. You'll see somewhat of the status quo, and then policies that will be based upon what is happening today in agriculture and what we foresee over the next 5 years. That's why I think our farmers are going to like our version of a Farm Bill much, much better than having Democrats remain in charge of the House.
When it comes to the Farm Bill, Rodney, you mentioned those input costs are extremely high. I know that also the costs of like fertilizer and chemicals and all of those things are just through the roof right now. Not only that, they're hard to come by. Is that something that can be addressed in the Farm Bill, or does that have to be, how do you foresee those issues getting worked out?
Well, what we do is we address our risk management tools based upon the costs, based upon the marketplace. And those risk management tools like an ARC program, a PLC program, or frankly, crop insurance, which is a great pre-planned disaster assistance, public-private partnership that works. those decisions on how to structure those programs are going to be based upon what our farmers are facing economically at the time when we pass the bill. So yes, they'll be taken into consideration. I don't know what the final outcome will be, but I think if you ask most farmers, the programs that we put in place, the backstops, they're not going to they're not fail safe, but at the same time, they allow farmers to be able to mitigate their risk and go get the financing they need to grow their crop every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they'll tell you they like these programs. They don't want them overhauled in a major way like I think Democrats will do if they continue to be in charge.
Mm-hmm. Anything else on the Farm Bill, Rodney, on your radar?
Well, I just think that our farmers are concerned, and that rightfully so. But the good news is that because of projected commodity prices being high, they'll be able to break even, I hope, in most cases this year. But next year's what concerns me. If those input costs, the fertilizer costs, the fuel costs, et cetera, seed costs, et cetera, if they don't go down from where they are at 3 times as high as they were over the last few years, I'm very concerned about next year.
Sure. Again, Congressman Rodney Davis on the phone with us. And Congressman, we've got a few more minutes left in our discussion here for today. Of course, it's the political campaigning season, and so you've got a couple of contenders up against you in the primaries here. How do you feel about the campaign season, and how do you feel that's going so far, I suppose?
I think it's going great. I mean, your listeners, they know me. I'm on your show every month. I answer all your questions, talk about whatever issue you want to talk about. The difference this year is the primaries in June. And because the Democrats drew new districts, they drew these gerrymandered messes. I now live in the 15th district. I'm the only member of Congress who lives in this district. It includes DeWitt County. I'm glad to still have DeWitt County in the district that we're running in, the district that we'll win in. But I really hope that we can elect even more Republicans to Congress under this gerrymandered map that the Democrats in Springfield drew for us. But I urge everyone, make sure you go vote in June. It's the first time in my lifetime we voted in June, when I want to make sure no one forgets.
Mm-hmm. Rodney, of course, one of your opponents has been endorsed by former President Trump, and that's gotten a lot of headway, I suppose, on the campaign trail. And we saw earlier this week in Ohio, J.D. Vance received a Trump endorsement late in the campaign process there in Ohio. That I don't know if that's what pushed him over the top, if he was going to win anyways, but it seems like the Trump endorsement really made a difference in that race. How about that endorsement, and how much that it could impact your race here? How about that?
Well, I sure think that the president got some bad advice and made a bad decision. So I'm looking ahead and looking back at the same time. When you look back, everybody that listens to your show knows that I've got a great track record of actually helping President Trump and his administration write laws, pass laws, be it reducing taxes for every American family. We did that together. We tried fixing our broken healthcare system together. I was President Trump's co-chair of his entire campaign in Illinois in 2020. So we've got a great track record of working together. But at the same time, I'm proud to be endorsed by many, many people right here in the district. And frankly, all your listeners know me. They know that I'm somebody who's going to put politics aside and put all the political things aside and go out to D.C., stick to my conservative values and principles, protect life, protect our Second Amendment, but I'm also going to go get things done. That's what we need more of in Washington.
Mm-hmm. Well, Congressman, we always appreciate your time as always. If folks are following along with you, where do they do that? What's the best place to get the latest on what you're doing? I know that you and your fellow lawmakers are active on social media talking about where you're at. How do folks follow you?
Well, you can follow us on Twitter at Rodney Davis. Go to Rep. Rodney Davis on Facebook. Go to my website, rodneydavis.house.gov. Especially if you're an employer who's having a hard time getting workforce. We have information on the law I passed that allows every employer to help pay down their employees' student debt. You don't have to apply for a grant. You don't have to wait for government to fund it. You can do it today. This is a program. It's a public-private partnership. It's voluntary. That's the type of solution that I bring to the table. Go to my website under student financial info, and you'll see it.
Congressman, thanks for your time as always. We appreciate it. We'll let you go and talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
You do the same, Congressman. That's Congressman Rodney Davis on the phone with us. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show, streaming to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton.